All right. A couple of quick things I want to mention before we go back to our phone calls. They're on 8/7. Please put that on your calendar. Pizza Hut will be holding a fundraiser for AVN and our studio and upcoming projects on 8/7. That's August 7th at 5 to 7 p.m. And what will happen is they'll donate a percentage of the proceeds from that evening. It's a buffet type thing. I'll be there. It'll be a great opportunity for us to get together, shake hands, meet, and so forth, meet and greet. And they'll donate a percentage of the proceeds of the night's take during that period to AVN. And I think that's a very gracious offer on their part, and I want to thank them for that, but I also want to take advantage of it. So if you guys have an opportunity to step up to the plate and be there, no pun intended, please make sure that you mark your calendar for 8/7. Also, tomorrow morning, after the show here, we're going to meet over at Skillets and in West Plains. And if you're interested in coming by and having a quick breakfast with us, we'll have a chance to do a kind of a meet and greet and a meetup, if you will. I would encourage anyone who wants to participate to come and meet us at Skillets in West Plains. And Mike, that's correct, right? Tomorrow morning?
Kevin Jotz for having that brilliant idea.
I'm sorry. I'm correct on that. It's tomorrow morning, right?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay. Kevin, that was Kevin Jotz's idea?
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Kevin. Smart idea, by the way. I've talked to a couple of other, hosts who do these like weekly meetups, and I think we probably will start to do that. Even if it's just, to get together for a cup of coffee one evening a week or something like that, and discuss things that are happening, talk about what, you guys want to hear on the radio and what news and information and, what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, right? It's kind of like a little focus group. But at the same time, it also gives our folks an opportunity to meet each other, our listeners, and, network amongst themselves, right?
Exactly.
So, you find a farmer who's got eggs and you got milk and you guys swap. So, and anyway, go ahead with your quick analysis or autopsy of yesterday.
So others can get on. I wanted people to know, too, I did speak to Chairman McClintock about defunding.
Right.
Something the House can do. He said he was willing. He did not believe it would pass the Senate.
I'm tired of hearing those excuses.
I don't believe that's enough.
We can't do it because it won't pass. That's okay. Yeah. Put it on the record and make a statement.
Exactly. Make them defend their position.
Yeah.
Now, and I do want to say Billy Long should replace Clint Eastwood at the next Republican convention for the empty chair speech. I think that was great. But there's a 2-ton gorilla in the room that no one's mentioned yet, and that is the so-called Freedom to Farm Act or Missouri Monsanto Act that we will all have to vote against in November.
Yeah.
That was written and sponsored by Jason Smith in the Missouri House.
Right. Well, let's not pretend there's not an elephant in the room that all these guys are running for re-election very soon. They're all running again in 2014, people. So that's what this is. This is the kickoff to the re-election. And the reason the PRC was ignored and slighted, and for that matter, the Campaign for Liberty and some of the other groups. Yeah, because some of the people that they fear who might run against them in 2014 are members of those groups.
Exactly. Bob Parker was there. Bob has said he doesn't want to run.
Bob has already said he's not going to run. And for them to dismiss him or the PRC group for that reason is not worthy of mention.
Jason does not care for me because when he spoke to our Lincoln Day, he lied twice about the Missouri Monsanto Act, once lying about Doreen's blog and what it said, and I called him on it. So I don't expect him to have me testify because I call him when he lies. Okay, but Peter Kinder would have represented us very well. It's pretty obvious Jason is afraid Peter might run against him. Peter's never, ever announced he's going to do that, but there's fear there. It's political exploitation, and Jason is trying to take credit for what hundreds of citizens did. We're glad he helped.
Right. Well, we were a month and a half into the process before his name even came rising to the top.
And I heard a man in the restroom yesterday say, I'm just so grateful that Jason Smith is so sharp and so alert and caught this.
He caught it?
That's what the man in the restroom said. I just shook my head and laughed. Because I remember having my phone calls to his office.
I mean, I'm not dismissing the fact that he's well spoken and he put forth an articulate argument, and I'm all for those things. Mm-hmm. But I'm also it's like this trust but verify kind of mentality, right? Where I also know that he's a politician, so that nothing that a politician says can be taken at face value because there's always an ulterior motive. It's just the nature of what they are. I didn't expect that I would be up there and they would ask me to witness because I'm a radio host. I'm not a politician and I'm not a farmer. I don't own 400 acres that's going to be, buried underwater from some levee break or something. So, I mean, I get it. But there were plenty of people up there that would have been better qualified. That was my whole point.
And in the end, did this accomplish anything?
No, because the DOI didn't even show up.
What's it going to do? And of course, while I'm glad we had this happen, it cost the federal government and us an awful lot of money,
right,
to fly these folks here.
Sure.
I would like to know that they're driving a stake through the heart of the Blue Wave vampire, and we still don't know what's going to happen.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to. My phone lines are just screaming. So
bye. Take care.
Thanks. Hi. Go ahead.
Okay. 3 points. First one. I was a little disturbed about the lack of decorum. I understand that most people that were there yesterday at the hearing didn't know or understand they were at an official congressional hearing. Just a point that in the future your applause are taken away from the people's time to testify, and there's a certain decorum for hearings. The second point, I was really impressed with the number of citizen politicians that we had, aside from individual politicians' shortcomings. There were ranchers there with 3 and 4 generations of history who were taking the time to be involved.
Right, in the middle of their day, by the way.
Yeah, in the middle of their day.
Right.
Because I went to Washington one time on a meeting that trying to explain to people that the Escalante Staircase was declared a wilderness area by a public meeting held on Wednesday over 100 miles away, and nobody knew who lived there. So, this has been happening for over 20 years. But back to my other point, I was impressed by Mr. Link, Arkansas Representative Link.
Yes.
Quoted from the Federalist Papers.
I love that, huh?
He got it. He understood. Yay!
Yeah.
And then Mr. King did make a comment about Shannon County having all of that federal property.
You're right.
People don't understand that county governments run on property tax, basically.
Right. And when it all belongs to the federal government and is therefore tax exempt, they're required to get along without it, without that revenue, essentially.
Right, and there's a program called PILT, or Payment in Lieu of Taxes, which keeps getting underfunded and unfunded continually, and it leaves those counties hanging out there without the ability to support themselves in their services. And then there's also, I think Representative Link made a comment about we were volunteered, and we didn't know we were being volunteered.
Yeah.
And then
he did a good job. I thought he was effective as a speaker. He made good points. I understand that they want to have an opportunity to express their ire and witness to what their constituents asked for. I just think that they could have put more emphasis on the actual people who were on the ground. I'm very disappointed that no mention was made of Agenda 21 or any type of international involvement in this project, because that needed to be on the record officially, right?
Right, and my letter, it's open. The chairman made a point of mentioning several times that the testimony will be open for 10 more days.
Right.
You can file in writing. And when I saw the map up on the screen, it's the same map I saw in 1991. It's a portion of the same map I saw in 1991 as part of Agenda 21 to depopulate the area.
Right. And how do you do that? You break the economic back. Then people got to leave.
Yes. And so I'll be writing my letter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day. Mm-hmm. Hi, caller. Go ahead.
Hi. In response to the lady who just called, I believe that she's correct that there's a decorum for a congressional hearing. At the same time, these people don't even want to speak to us individually. It's the only way to let our passion be shown.
I get both of your points, by the way. And when they, in defense of the people who were there and were able to, express their whatever, holding a hearing in a public event like that is not the same as a hearing in the Capitol at D.C., where, there's limited opportunity for people to attend and so forth and so on. So, I mean, I understand the concept of decorum. The clapping and that kind of thing, I wasn't against that. I understood that people wanted to, express their opinions and their feelings and ideas. There were a couple of people that shouted some things out. But frankly, what they really should have done was had multiple slots open with a 3-minute window for people to come up and read a predefined statement that could have been a little bit more representative of the individuals who were affected by this. Not necessarily the politicians, the actual people who were affected. And I think that would have been a good way of getting some public comment into the record, right? Because, again, if this is all about public comment and the public doesn't get to comment, all we get to do is reiterate our comments through the lens of our Congress representatives, whether state or federal, then it's not much different than what the DOI did, is it?
I totally agree. And the second thing I want to say is they talked about this Becky or Rebecca who wasn't present and should have been present and had failed to show up for some other various meetings. Have they not heard the words congressional subpoena?
Yeah. That was one of my first points is, okay, so the House has subpoena power. Why not use it?
Yeah, there was no excuse.
I'd be honest with you, and it's not limited, I might add, just to this issue with her. They've done the same thing in Benghazi. They've done the same thing in Fast and Furious. I'm tired of hearing, we're doing our investigation, and when we have gathered enough evidence, stop with that nonsense. Grab a special counsel, grab a special prosecutor, and let them use the law on their side to compel these people to come in and testify or plead the fifth, and then use the information that you gather to, like an investigation, a true investigation, not a bunch of photographic opportunity for elected people, but use the police power of the Congress to compel testimony so we can get to the bottom of stuff. That's why Fast and Furious is, a year and a half old, and we still have no idea what the heck really happened.
Well, I feel like they used West Plains as a format, and thank God all the people who showed up did. I'm very proud of them, but at the same time, I feel like we were thrown a bone, and we're supposed to be happy with a few sound bites and a few pictures.
Absolutely correct. It was exploitive. I 100% agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, caller. Go ahead.
Yes, I was sitting next to a man who was murmuring to me about the United Nations background for this Blueways thing, and there came a point in the proceedings when someone did mention international implications, and although the words Agenda 21 were not mentioned from the panel, someone up there, I think the transcript would show it if someone had the patience to comb through there, someone did say something about the international connections, and the man next to me said, "Oh, there you go." And he'd been murmuring to me about, what about the United Nations? So there was some mention of the international implications of this. I just wanted to throw that in.
I'm glad you brought that out to my attention, because I didn't hear it, but then again, I was trying to take notes at the same time, which is not exactly, easy to do. I'm trying to listen and write notes about my thoughts and comments on the idea. And
it was a fleeting reference, but this man next to me was tuned in. He was keyed into that point.
Right. Well, and you're absolutely right, and he was too. I don't want it to be a fleeting reference. I want it to be a major focal point of the discussion, because we needed that on the record so that Missouri has the opportunity to say, aha, we now have an anti-Agenda 21 bill as soon as we override it in September, and we have a target. It's called Blueways, the Department of the Interior, and Agenda 21, and anything that falls up underneath that. And that's the mistake that this thing, that was the most glaring faux pas of the whole thing, was the fact that no one made it very, very abundantly clear that the Blueways is just one more, tentacle, if you will, of the multi-legged octopus of Agenda 21.
Right.
And I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, it should have been.
And honestly, our state reps should have been the ones to put that on the record, because it would have given them ammunition in September to go up there and beat that thing.
Right.
And damn it, I'm mad about it.
Well, there was a fleeting reference, but there should have been more. I just thought I'd point that out.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you correcting for the record as well. Thanks.
Oh, you bet.
So, folks, we got a couple of minutes left. If you want to get your input in, call me quickly and just make your point so that others can get on. But, I don't want to take anything away from the event. I just want to point out the fact that I don't think it was quite as public-oriented as it should have been, and I don't think it was as effective as it could have been. I think, it's not a function of credit. I just think the PRCs, frankly, could have used the publicity to say, hey, guess what? You guys should be a part of these PRCs. In fact, those politicians, all of them, should have been saying, if it wasn't for these PRCs and the grassroots efforts, and by the way, everybody in the audience who's not a member of either Voice of the Ozarks or the Property Rights Coalition or Missourians Against Agenda 21 should be joining those organizations. Or, the self-same argument for the folks in Arkansas. So where was that? Where was taking the opportunity to say, America, this is a chance for you to set, to have an effect by taking the initiative and joining a group like that and actively participating in our republic. And by the way, I heard the word democracy, and not one single time did I hear the word republic come out of any of those people's mouths, especially on the left side, on the federal side. They all said democracy a few times. None of them said republic. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm referring to your talk on the USDA yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Coincidentally, I got a call from USDA. I didn't talk to them. My wife did.
This was yesterday?
Yeah, they said that they would be coming to my premises if they didn't fill these 3 deals all out that they'd sent us.
Really?
So what would be your advice when they show up at my house?
Well, I don't know, and I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to give you legal advice. Personally, I think, and other people who have been through this before, I don't get one of those forms because I don't own a farm, unfortunately. I wish I did.
Well, the last time I called Chuck Ferguson.
What did he say?
He said he got one, too, and he said I didn't fill it out.
Right. Honestly, I think that from what I've heard, those people who have refused to fill it out and have basically told them to go pound sand, those people who have done that have been threatened and threatened and threatened, but no enforcement has actually been taken against them.
What they're using it for is intimidation.
Of course. And a lot of people capitulate under the threat and the coercion of force, right? Which is, in and of itself, completely unacceptable.
Well, one more comment.
Yes.
As far as our elected officials, they need to be petitioned, number one, on their oath of office.
You know what I would do, by the way?
That also goes with our elected officials in our community, because they're your last line of defense. Our judges, sheriffs, prosecutors need to stand up and get on your show and tell us how they're running our county constitutionally.
There you go. You know what I would do?
What?
I don't know what county you're in, but I would have
Shannon County.
Where?
Shannon County.
Okay, so what I would do is I'd have my state rep there. I'd ask my sheriff to attend that event, and I would have the USD, the day that they're going to come, make sure that you have some elected officials there representing you or interposing on your behalf.
They won't come here. They'll come unsuspectingly. They won't give you notification when they come.
Well, then I'd videotape the entire event, I can tell you that.
Because I have a dairy here, and they already got the foot in the door to come in my barn.
Yep. I would make sure I videotaped the entire event, and I would have some friends and some witnesses on hand available immediately to you, so that when they do arrive, you make a phone call that says they're here, and everybody rushes over there to monitor what goes on. Immediately, and they've got to be close proximity so they can get there within minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And then you stall them until your witnesses get there. That's what I would do.
Well, then who is supposed to be protecting me from the USDA? It's my own sheriff and prosecutor right down here in Shannon County.
Well, then I would call the sheriff and I would say to him, look, these people have already said they're going to come. I want you to know that when I call you, I want your commitment that you're going to show up on a moment's notice when I call you and say they're here, and I'm expecting you to stand there and interpose and defend me against federal overreach.
You won't get a hold of them because the only thing they're out to do is enforce unconstitutional rules and regulations.
Well, give them a shot at it first before you say that.
What's that?
Give your sheriff a chance before you say that. Call him and talk to him and explain what's going on. And if you have to, give him some information from some other people who have fought this and say, here's what other people have done. I'm trying to be proactive about protecting myself and my family and my farm. I need your help, and I'm asking you right now, I want a commitment from you. Will you or will you not show up when I call your cell phone and say, Sheriff, they're here? You know I'm not asking for your cell phone to give it out. I'm just saying that when they show up, I want to know that you got my back and I've got your protection. And I need to be able to get you at a moment's notice to say, it's 5:30 in the morning, they're here, and I know that you're going to be here in 10 minutes. Yeah. And then get some neighbors and some farmers adjacent to you and defend it that way.
The point is they're too busy serving unconstitutional warrants on people that's not paid their seatbelt tickets and too busy.
Well, I get it, but, my point is this. Make sure that you are giving it a chance first.
Yeah.
Okay? And you know what? If they won't show up, then make sure that you've got plenty of other folks locally who may not necessarily be public officials, but can certainly be witnesses.
Yeah. Well, not to cut it short, but I appreciate what you've done, and I pray the Lord be with you, guide you and direct you, and doing what's right.
Thank you so much.
Right is not easy.
Well, boy, ain't that the truth.
Well,
I hear that all the time, and you know what? I feel it all the time. So,
well, without these adversities that we run into, the Lord won't be able to use you when the time comes. These things are to build character, to standing up for what's right. We can take a lot.
Well, that's true. I sometimes wish he'd be a little easier on me.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, brother. Okay. Go ahead, caller, quickly. We're running out of time.
Didn't you say you were drafting some law concerning administrative agencies?
Yes, I have a piece of legislation which I have drafted.
How about contacting the chief law enforcement agency when a federal government investigative agency enters the county?
What do you mean?
Well, if you have an ongoing investigation in your county and you're the sheriff, shouldn't you know about that?
You should, and technically the federal government is supposed to notify them that they're intending to enter their jurisdiction.
Unless there's some kind of civil rights thing the sheriff's being charged with.
Right. And what I think that was my point to the caller. Give the sheriff a chance. Show him documentation that says, here's, you're supposed to act. They're supposed to notify you. You're supposed to act and protect and defend. And here's examples of others where it's happened. And in fact, if he can go onto the CSPOA.org website and find that sheriff who has done that before many times, and a bunch of sheriffs who have done that, and then utilize that to try to persuade the sheriff to do the right thing. So, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a great idea.
It seems like something that's tailor-made for civil disobedience. Don't fill the damn things out. Exactly.
And make sure you've got a group of people around you who you can call at a moment's notice, and with a code word, whatever that may be, they know that means they've shown up, and I need witnesses standing here, and I need help.
Yeah. Minutemen. Yeah.
Exactly. Minutemen. Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Okay. Folks, that's going to, I just want to make a couple of quick notes. That's going to wrap our show for today. Make sure you put on your calendar. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have breakfast at Skillet's, so anybody who wants to come by, please feel free to do that. That's Skillet's in West Plains on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. Also, mark on your calendar the 7th of August. That's at Pizza Hut between 5 and 7. That's also on Porter Wagoner in West Plains. Skillet's will be tomorrow morning after the show, so it'll be around 9:30 or so. And good point. Thanks, Fast Eddie. And make sure that you put both of those events on your calendar. Tomorrow morning around 9:30, we're going to go to Skillet's, and there's some folks that are going to meet us there. You're certainly welcome to come by. We'd love to see you. Pizza Hut on 8/7 between 5 and 7 p.m. That's a fundraiser for AVN. Love to have you come by there and share an evening with us. Just want to mention Greg McLaughlin over at Black Ops School of Combat. You can reach him at 255-1612. And also, Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at 255-2253, number 2 Evans Arcades on the square. Best damn bakery in 100 miles. Our friends over at Spring Creek Beef, where you can get 100% all-natural beef that has no steroids, no antibiotics, no hormones, no nothing. Just the best darn beef you'll be able to find in it's like you get 100 years ago. Kevin over at the battery station at 257-7799. Make sure that you go see Kevin. He's a real patriot and a hero. West Plains Pawn, 256-3000 on Highway 160 near Walmart. Our friends over at Pizza Hut, Stone Construction, 2930116, and the sponsor of our phone lines, Wits End Classic Barbershop. Find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And then find this and every other show that we do on YouTube at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. We thank you very much for being with us today. We will see you tomorrow morning. That will be our final day here at 107.1. And I'm going to spend the morning talking about important issues about the continuation of AVN and where you'll be able to hear us. We'll see you tomorrow.
The battery station in West Plains is your headquarters for getting and being prepared.